Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it's a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given me and you the ability and tawfiq to participate in this gathering. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a means of our entry into Jannah. Tonight is our fourth lesson in the Tafseer of Surah Kahf. So far we have already understood the themes of Surah Kahf. The blessings that are mentioned in different ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to Surah Al-Kahf, and we have also understood why Surah Al-Kahf is protection, or the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf, especially the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf, is linked with the protection against Dajjal. And then alhamdulillah, in our last session we understood the cause of revelation, why Surah Al-Kahf was revealed, what was the story behind it, and some very interesting points that we have learned about Surah Al-Kahf. Tonight, inshallah, we will do the tafsir of the first 3 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. The first 3 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. So let's begin. Alhamdulillah. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamd is a very beautiful word. And if you do not understand today anything in this tafsir class, I hope that you understand this word today. Alhamd. There are many different words in Arabic language that indicates praise. So for example, you have madah. Madah means to praise. You have shukr, shakara means to thanks and praise. But alhamd has a very special meaning. It has a very specific meaning. Madah means to flatter someone. And sometimes, actually a lot of times, madah is done out of a false sense of impressing someone. You know, madah can be done for truth. Madah can be done for falsehood. You can do madah to gain somebody's favor that we are doing madah for. So madah could be a lie, it could be false, it could be true. Similarly, shukr is done in response to a good that is done to you. When somebody does you good, then you say what? Shukr. Then you say shukran. Right? If somebody does something for you, if it does you good, then you say shukr. You never say shukr or you never say shukran unless someone has done something for you. So shukr is an exchange. Shukr is tit for tat. But alhamd has nothing to do with madah and shukr. Alhamd is the praise, and you are praising that being because that being is worthy of that praise, because that being deserved that praise. So shukr and madah, so alhamd is general, in a sense it is more general, and also in a sense it is more specific. It is more general because alhamd has nothing to do with what the being that you are praising has done for you. It has nothing to do with what the being that you are praising has done for you. And alhamd is more specific because you cannot do hamd for anyone. You can only do hamd for someone who deserves it, for the being who deserves it. And it is done for him, it is not done for you. Shukr is done because someone has done something for you. Madah could be done because you need a favor in return. But alhamd is only done when that being deserves that hamd, when that being is worthy of that praise. So that's why this is alhamd, different than madah and shukr. That's why we should understand the word alhamd. Alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba, who sent down this book upon his abd. Why should we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why should we do the hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This part of the verse is telling us, because He sent down the book, and the book is such a beautiful and powerful miracle that because of that book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves all the praise. Because we have Quran, we say Alhamdulillah. It is such a beautiful blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the entire world with, that we are constantly thanking and praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have given us this book. We don't regard this book, but Allah says, praise me, and all praises belong to me only and solely because I have given you this book. There's another place in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the same thing. He says, Tabarakalladhi nazzala al-furqan. He says, Tabarakalladhi nazzala al-furqan. All blessings be to the one who has sent down Furqan, al-Furqan. And here he says, Alhamdulillah. All praises due to the one who has sent down this book. Who is the recipient? And the third thing, so the first thing that we understood is alhamd. Second thing, that while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves all this praise, the third thing that tonight inshallah we're going to understand is that who is the recipient of that book. Allah says, Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abd. He says the recipient of the book is abd. He is the abd. Now if I ask you what abd means, probably most of you will tell me it means slave. Right? Most of the people when they translate abd, they translate it as a slave. But here Ibn Kathir rahmatullah alayhi, who is the mufassir of the Quran, he says abd here does not mean slave. Abd here means the worshipper of Allah. Here abd does not mean slave. Here abd means the worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the highest praise and the highest maqam of any human being is to be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No human being can be exalted until and unless he humbles himself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more you humble yourself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more honored you will be. And the person who has achieved the height of humbling himself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, are you with me?
Yeah.
Is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He achieved the height of humbling himself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah calls him abd, my worshipper. This is the highest praise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give to any human being. Allah says, this is my abd, this is my worshipper. He worshipped me like nobody else. That's why I'm calling him abd. Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abd. I revealed this book, I sent down this book upon my abd. And then as a side note, if you notice, there are many places in the Quran where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned as abd. And all these places are honorary places, where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned as abd. So for example, let me give you an example. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Quran is defending Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah is defending Rasulullah. وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ. If you have any doubt in the book that I revealed upon my abd, Allah is defending Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what term he is using? Abd. Another place in the Quran where Allah is praising Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by one of the greatest miracles that was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah says, Subhanalladhi asra bi abdi. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who took his abd on the night journey. And what is that night journey? Isra and Mi'raj, the biggest miracle that was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Allah is defending Rasulullah, when he's raising the ranks of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he's talking about the maqam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what term is he using? Abd. Here as well, Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abd. The recipient of this book is my abd, is my worshipper. Ala abdihi al-kitab. Al-kitab. I know I have 15 minutes, probably I take a few minutes more today, so be patient with me. Al-kitab. Al-kitab has two meanings here. Of the meaning of Al-Kitab is the one that we all know, which means the book. Because Kataba means what? To write. Kataba means to write, so Kitab means book. But Kataba, one of the meanings of Al-Kitab, because it comes with Katb, with the sukoon of ta, not Kataba. Katb with the sukoon of ta. And in Arabic language, it means a large amount. So for example, you use a word in Arabic language, it means Katiba. Katiba is used when a large group of people are on an expedition. When a large group of people, they go out and they are on an expedition, then what word do you use? Katiba. So Al-Kitab, one of the meanings of Al-Kitab is that this book has a lot of wisdom, it has a lot of information. And also one of the meanings of Al-Kitab is that this book has been written down. Both of these meanings are applicable to the Quran. Both of these meanings are applied to the Quran. Quran is what which is recited. Kitab is what which is written down. And both of these meanings are complementary to one another. So Al-Kitab. Ala abdihi al-kitab walam yaj'al lahu iwaja. And he has not placed any kind of crookedness in it, any kind of confusion, any kind of misunderstanding in it. SubhanAllah, I was doing, because I cannot share each and everything. The Tafseer's books, mashallah, if you look at it, there's so much information, but I cannot share all the information. I need to share the information that is relevant, that you find interesting, and that is easy for you to grasp and to understand. One thing that I found so special here, Imam al-Qurtubi rahmatullah, he mentioned in his book, in the book of his Tafseer, he says this part of the ayah of Surah Al-Kahf, it proves that the Quran and the prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is linked together. Why? Because Allah says, I sent down this book upon some abd or upon abdihi, my abd. My abd. Allah sent down this kitab upon his abd. This is the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how do I know that this is the Prophet of Allah? How do I know that this is the Rasul of Allah? Prophet Muhammad. How do I know that? Allah says this book is the credential of the prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you want to know why Islam is true, look at the book. If you want to know the miracle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look at the book. What is the sign of the book? يَجْعَلْ لَهُ عِوَجًا. You will not find anything confusing in it. There is nothing that can be misunderstood. There is nothing that is strange. That's the sign of the book. But through book, you will recognize Rasulullah. Through book, you will recognize the Abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through book, you will recognize all these things. So this is وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ عِوَجًا. قَيِّمًا. This book is straight and it will make you straight. Both of these meanings are here. Allama Az-Bakhshi rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned both of these meanings. Qayyima, it's a straight book and it will make you straight. And if you notice here, first Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala negates the crookedness, the confusion, and then He affirms straightness. وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ عِوَجًا. No crookedness. Qayyima, it's straight. Make you straight. He negates crookedness and then He affirms. And it is the exact same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. I need some of your response now because I know that Tafseer's discussion can be really academic and people fall asleep. So I need your attention now. This is the same. What is the same exact thing? First, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala negates what? Crookedness. And then He affirms straightness. What is the first ayah? Not the first. The second ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى. لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ meaning what? There is no confusion in this book. So Allah negates confusion here. No confusion in this book. And what is the next part? هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. It will give you guidance. It will give you straightness. It is straight, it will make you straight. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. In here, وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ عِوَجًا and قَيِّمًا. The same fashion Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adopted here. First He negates the crookedness, then He affirms the straightness. وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ عِوَجًا قَيِّمًا لِيُنذِرَ بَأْسًا شَدِيدًا. Subhanallah, this book warns a severe punishment. مِن لَدُنْهُ. You know ladun? In Arabic language, it means something that you take out from your private collections, from your private possession that nobody has ever seen, and then you give it to someone. Indi means something that you have in your pocket. You have a pen in your pocket, you give it to someone, min indi, it's from me. But when you have something in your private collection, in your secret vault, and you bring that out and give it to someone, then you say min ladunni, especially from me. So this punishment that Allah is talking about is not just any punishment, it's a very severe punishment. Min ladunhu, which will come especially from the secret vault, from the private collection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But don't be too scared. وَيُبَشِّرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Glad tidings for all those people who believe in Allah. يَعْمَلُونَ الصَّالِحَاتِ. But at the same time they also do good deeds. Not only does they believe in Allah. Alif Lam Mim. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسَ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا. People think that they just say we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah will let them go. وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. And Allah will not test them. So Allah puts it's a condition here. Glad tidings for those who believe. Who are the people who believe? يَعْمَلُونَ الصَّالِحَاتِ. They have actions to prove. They don't just talk. They have actions to prove that they believe in Allah. يَعْمَلُونَ الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ أَجْرٌ حَسَنًا. They will have much reward. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mention explicitly here what is the reward. Look at the next ayah. مَاكِثِينَ فِيهِ أَبَدًا. They will live in it forever. So what is the reward now? If you are paying attention, Allah says the next ayah and the next ayah, Allah says they will live in it forever. So the reward is Jannah. Final points, few points, please be with me, bear with me. Just few points, then we are done. Notice here, in the first 1.5 ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala combines 3 fundamentals of Islam. There are some young boys sitting here, mashallah, inshallah, it will be informative for them. What are the 3 fundamentals of Islam? Can anyone tell? Tawheed, Risala, Akhirah. These are the 3 fundamentals of Islam. Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. Risala, the prophecy of Rasulullah. And Akhirah, the hereafter, the afterlife. When you praise Allah, Alhamdulillah, you praise Allah, what are you doing? You're declaring the oneness of Allah. Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala abdihi, revealed upon His slave. What is that? Risala, the prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you reject, you will be punished. لِيُنذِرَ بَأْسًا شَدِيدٍ. You will be punished if you reject. And if you accept, وَيُبَشِّرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, you will be rewarded. What is that? These three things, three fundamentals of Islam, beautifully summarized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in only 1.5 verse. And also notice here, 3 pillars of Iman. Probably this is a new thing for you. 3 pillars of Iman are also mentioned in 1.5 verse. What are the 3 pillars of Iman? Loving Allah, fearing Allah, and hoping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Arabic we say al-hub, wal-khawf, wal-raja. Loving Allah, fearing Allah, and hoping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you praise Allah, you love Allah. When Quran warns you of a severe punishment, you get scared. When Quran gives you glad tidings, you become happy and you become hopeful. And you are hopeful in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these 3 pillars of Iman, love, fear and hope, and 3 fundamentals of Islam, Tawheed, Risala, Akhira, all of these 6 things are combined in 1.5 verse of Surah Kahf. One another point, never does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala threaten except that He also gives glad tidings. Never does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala threaten with any kind of punishment except in the same context Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give good news. And Quran combines both of these emotions together. Takhweef and tabsheer. Takhweef means to scare someone. And tabsheer means to warn someone. And tabsheer means to give good news. And here as well, Allah warns of a punishment, severe punishment. At the same time, وَيُبَشِّرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We need to learn something here. As a da'i, as the ummah of Rasulullah, ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we believe in spreading the message of Islam. When you spread the message of Islam, yes, there is fear, but there is also hope. And we have to maintain this balance. We have to keep this balance. Quran maintains this balance. Even in English, I believe you have this saying that mankind needs the carrot and the stick. The carrot and the stick. We need the carrot, we need the incentive, but we also need stick. To remain online, to remain steadfast, to keep the track of our progress. We also need stick, we also need punishment. And Quran and Islam combine both of these emotions together. One last final point and then I'm done, inshallah. I don't actually know how much time I've taken today. But I know a lot of brothers are sleeping. But one last thing, inshallah, then I'm done. In this ayat, in these first 3 ayat, and this is the crux of our dars tonight, of our class tonight. In the first 3 ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this book, the Quran, as the ultimate criteria of Allah, of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Risala and Akhirat. These 4 things are linked to this book, to this Quran. If you want to understand these 4 things, then you have to understand this book. And this is something that we remind ourselves over and over and over and over again, but this is something that we lost very easily. Very, very easily we lost it. If someone comes and asks you, how do you know Islam is true? If someone comes and asks you, how do you know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Our immediate response should be, it is Quran. Look at the Quran. This is the miracle of Allah. This is the living miracle of Allah. It's a living miracle of Allah in every sense, in its recitation, in its hearing, in its memorization, in its understanding, in its implementation. It's a living miracle. It's an ultimate proof. And Surah Al-Kahf will bring about that issue over and over and over again, and you will inshallah see as we will continue. The last point that I couldn't share today in my Jummah khutbah, in my Jummah lecture, those of you who were here, I mentioned some of the points that we can do or some of the actions that we can take to preserve our fitrah. One last point I couldn't mention, and I was really regretting that I couldn't mention, but there is always, they say, Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that in the destruction of your plan, you see the will of Allah. So this was the will of Allah. But I would share this point with all of you, but the time is so relevant, but it's interesting for all of you to know that. The last thing that I wanted to instill in my kids, and I hope to instill in my kids when they get to that age, is the reflection. Reflection. I want them to become people of reflection. And reflection doesn't mean that you just study someone's reflection. Reflection means that you have to become a thinker. You have to become a person of deep thought yourself. And you can never ever do that unless you become a person of reading. You stop texting and Facebooking and tweeting and Xbox and PS3, and you become a person of reading. And you become a person of writing your thoughts. And you become a person who appreciates literature. Because this will develop your thought. This will develop your reflection. This will develop your understanding. And to me, the greatest manual that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, through which we can develop our reflection, is the Quran. And I'm not telling you to go and study the most complicated tafseer on the Quran, the most academic tafseer on the Quran. Some baseline discussion that you can have every single night with your family when you go back home for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you need a reference, Tafseer Usmani. Very simple, straightforward book. Tafseer Usmani, small book. Little by little, ayah by ayah, you sit down with your kids and you do the tafsir and you read basic line discussion, baseline discussion on scholarly sources, but in an easy language. You all can do it. You don't need to become a scholar to do it. Just do it little by little and ayah by ayah, and you are preparing your kids for the life of reflection. Then they will start seeing the world around them through the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is what we want. We don't want this book to be sitting in a shelf. We don't want this book to be something that is only recited beautifully. We want this book as something that through which we look through the world. When you look at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are reminded of an ayah. When you look at your friends, when you go and meet your friends and you go and meet your relatives, you are reminded about the ayat of Allah. When you look at the nature outside, you are reminded about the ayat of Allah. This is what should we want from this book. This is how we are supposed to be. And this can never happen, my dear brother. This can never happen until and unless you make some conscious effort. You make some. Why I'm saying this? Because you brothers know that I'm leaving for Pakistan for 4 weeks. But does that mean that we should not have any tafsir halaqah anymore? Because Imam Sahib is away, so that's why we are on holidays now? We should not have any tafsir halaqah? We should not have any connection with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know there are some buzurgs here, there are some elders here. They have a routine of reciting the Quran every single day. I understand that. And alhamdulillah, may Allah give you reward for that. But at the same time, understanding this book, and more importantly, whatever you are understanding, implementing them in your life, that's the biggest thing. You know, today people talk about how we can convert the entire dunya towards Islam, the entire population towards Islam. And I always tell them, you don't need to convert them. Just show them, and they will become Muslims. You know, Sahaba, they used to go to these different places. Nowadays we deliver lectures. I've been delivering lecture for like 20 minutes now. We deliver lectures after lectures after lectures to give da'wah. Sahaba used to go to these different places. They don't even know the language. I'm a Paki Mulana, so I learned this language. But they didn't even know the language. They would just go to places and they would say, Kunu mithlana. Be like us, just these 2 words. Be like us. And people wanted to become like them. And today, alhamdulillah, we give so many lectures and we have so many tafsir halaqah and seerah halaqah and we attend these halaqahs and we come. Nothing is changing. People don't want to become like us. Why? Because the people in our neighborhood, if you go and ask them about Islam, they say that the only thing we know about Islam is that people come and park in our places. The only thing we know about Islam, that Muslims are the biggest source of inconvenience. Whenever they leave the masjid, they make sure that the entire neighborhood is hearing them. They make so much noise. That's what they know about. Because the Islam for us is only an act of worship. It's not coming in our real life. It's not. And it can never come into your real life until you make some kind of connection with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you do that, inshallah, Allah will bring about change in your lives, inshallah. So are we all ready for this now, inshallah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants understanding.